Hi friend, no matter how you look at it, one of the most beautiful trees that comes out in the springtime here in Appalachia is this beautiful redbud. Now, I want to explain the redbud story to you, and I hope that you'll go along with me because there's not a more beautiful tree in all of Appalachia. Everybody likes the dogwood, and I do too, and there's plenty of dogwood throughout Appalachian woods for you to gaze at. But these redbud come out, and for 2 weeks, you've got a beautiful scenery, and then they sort of get overshadowed by all the other trees as the rest of the leaves come out. So come along with me. Let's take a look at the redbud tree. Now, as we've already said, this is one of the most beautiful trees in all of Appalachia. And we've got a beautiful video of a dogwood and a redbud together. These trees are indigenous to Appalachia. And in fact, they stretch all the way to the west coast and can grow down south all the way into Mexico. So this is not unique to Appalachia, but I think the color and the radiance of these trees so much prettier here in Appalachia than anywhere else in the world. The redbud is so called because it does have sort of a reddish hue to it. Also got kind of a pink hue, but they didn't elect to call it a pink bud. I guess they just thought it was reddish enough to call it resbud. Now here's something pretty interesting you may not know. You can eat these. Now of course you want to wash them. But these blooms you can eat, and you can put them in salads. They're delicious. I would wash them first, or else I would eat one now, because as you know, the air now is filled with some toxins and some kinds of things that wouldn't be so good for you. So make sure you just rinse them off. You can pick these off in a prolific way and get you a cupful, and they've got a nice flavor. So we highly recommend that if you decide on a salad, that you get yourself some rosebud. Now they also are from the pea family. Now that may surprise you, but this tree is from the pea family, and they grow a sort of a pod that has peas in there, and those also can be cooked and eaten. We'll put a recipe for you on this video. Now these trees are prolific throughout Appalachia. As you can see here, this hollow is just filled with these trees. And so it's very interesting to see these before there's so much foliage that you can't see them anymore. We've got more stories to tell you about the redbud, but we'll move on and find us some more. So as you can see, these are beautiful trees that are scattered throughout all of Appalachia and Midwest, and even as far remote as Canada, northern Canada. Now, a lot of people, when they first came here as settlers, called this the Judas tree. There is a story that Judas hanged himself after he betrayed the Christ, that he hanged himself on a redbud tree just like this one. But we checked with an Israeli arborist, a person who knows trees in Israel, and there is no such tree like this. There's an olive tree and several other kinds of fruit trees, but no tree like this, no redbud. Then we kept digging until we figured out that possibly what they could have done was call this the Judas tree, because when they came and saw this beautiful foliage, they expected this to be a fruit tree. And it doesn't bear any fruit except for those pods I was telling you about. They look a lot like a pea pod. And maybe they started calling it the Judas tree because it betrayed them. Because it does look like a fruit tree. Now, the Native Americans made use of this. They ate the seed pods. They ate the flowers, the buds. And they also used this tree to make bows. If you look at any one of these trees, they have several straight kinds of stems, trunks that you can use, and they're small enough to work down without much trouble, and they're hard enough wood that you can pull back and get a good draw. So we wanted to bring you this concept of the redbud tree and tell you how beautiful they are. If you don't have one of these in your lawn, they do make a great lawn tree. They never get huge. They'll get up to 15, 18 feet, and they won't foliage out too much. They don't make a good shade tree, but they do make beautiful, beautiful foliage, beautiful blooms for just a little while in the spring. So there's a place called Redbud, Kentucky, and I've been down there several times, and it's beautiful also, and they probably named Redbud Kentucky because all through those hills there are redbuds, much like we have here in southern Ohio. So, as you can see, the redbud tree has a fantastic history. You can make food out of it. You can eat it in various kinds of dishes, and it's beautiful. And it's only around middle part of March through April. That's the end. Mamie Lee Robinson Brown started a war in Oklahoma. I know that sounds strange, but in the 1930s, she went to war to make this the state tree of Oklahoma. You spell her last name Brown, B-R-O-W-N-E. In the 1930s, she got into a big debate with Roberta Campbell, and these two women went at it about what should be the state tree in Oklahoma. Roberta contended that this was the Judas tree, that somehow Judas hanged himself on that, and as you've already heard, we now know that's not true. But finally, she prevailed, and after much argument and a war, Governor Ernest Marland and the 16th legislature in 1937 made this the state tree. They verified it in 1971 on June 24th and made it a statute. And so Oklahoma is the state that has the redbud as the state tree. Those of us here in Appalachia just eat it. They admire it. They've even got a big book of poems about the redbud in Oklahoma. Look it up. Wow, the redbud, worth your time, worth your effort. Salads, muffins, and even some teriyaki stir fry. The redbud tree. I'm Dr. Dave. Thanks. Ohio. I'm Dave Lucas, and we've been talking to you about the redbud tree. Hope you have enjoyed this program, and remember, they're safe to eat, but make sure you wash them first. The redbud from Southern Ohio here in Appalachia, glad to have you along.